coming out. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, postponed again. Just curious what your reaction is, and if there is any sort of estimate, you know, when the fight will carry on.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not my fight. I had some fighters on the undercard, which I'm disappointed about, but I'll leave that to His Excellency and George Warren and Spencer Brown. It's unfortunate, you know, it happens quite a lot in boxing, but doesn't always happen to the biggest fights in boxing. 2 weeks out, probably one of the last couple of spars for Tyson Fury, and you know, looking at the cut, doesn't look like a pleasant cut. And speaking only to the guys this morning, because obviously looking at our guys that are on the card, I think probably April, May is a realistic kind of date for a postponement.
People have obviously conspiracy theories or look at like history, right? They go with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, so I mean, to have a conspiracy theory, you would have to suggest that Tyson Fury has allowed someone to cut him open with a knife above his eye when he sparred and trained for 7 weeks, and he's making an absolute fortune to fight for the Undisputed Championship. No. Like, this is unfortunately a freak accident. It's a bad cut. You know, you see he wears an open head guard, which he's always done, but he's also never got cut before in sparring like that. So it's just terrible luck for him and Usyk and Saudi Arabia and boxing.
Any concerns on the because he had a cut for the Fury? I mean, the Francis fight had cuts from the Wallin fight. These scar tissues, you think it might? Yeah,
of course. As you get on, you know, as you you know, go deep in your career, and you have had cuts, you know, you might be more susceptible to them. But looks like more of a freak elbow and an injury that I don't know. I think he's not my fighter, so I can't really tell you about his scar tissue and how he marks up in sparring. But
do you know how you know, disappointed they may or may not be over in Saudi about this?
I would think absolutely devastated. I mean, you know, it was such a massive event for Riyadh season. It's the biggest fight in world boxing. The effort that His Excellency has put in. I mean, look at the promo that was cut the other day. You know, I mean, the fight's still going to happen in my opinion, but everyone will be very disappointed, and it's probably, unfortunately for them, their first taste of not the bad side of boxing, because it's just life, but I've been there 100 times where a fight's fallen through. Sometimes it's a massive fight and sometimes it's not a massive fight, but nearly every card you have a fight fall through. Unfortunately for them and for boxing, it was the fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, so hopefully it can be rescheduled as soon as possible, and hopefully we won't have to wait too long.
What do you think we were gearing up to see from Fury? I know he showed pictures that he was in good shape, but he just didn't look good against Ngannou. So
no, but I don't think he probably took that fight as, well, he wouldn't have taken that fight as seriously as he did Alexander Usyk. Listen, knowing him and the competitor that he is, I expect him to, after that Ngannou had the bit between his teeth, and bounce back and have a really big camp. You've seen the sparring partners they've brought out there, they weren't messing around. I mean, there's what, 6, 7 southpaws out there. I think he was gearing up for a tough fight, a great fight, and you know, we shouldn't talk like, oh, that's the end of that one then, because I'm sure they're going to work as hard as they can to reschedule as soon as possible.
Is there any truth on the Philip Hagrovic and Usyk potentially?
I don't know. Again, like, it's not my show. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if Hrgovic has been in camp. He didn't have a fight scheduled, but if he's offered a huge amount of money, he might take it. I just feel like if Fury's going to be ready by April or May, I don't see how Usyk would fight Hrgovic in February and then be guaranteed to be ready again for April, May. I think a lot of these, you know, when something like this happens, you just got to take a breath. You've got to go into another room. You've got to cry a little bit and say, why the fuck do I work in boxing? And then you've got to go, right, now we're going to deal with this. So sometimes 24 hours is a good thing to be able to just realign your thoughts and decide what's best.
I know you believe the fight is still going to eventually happen, but if for some reason it just never does come off, Usyk and Fury, what would you say that maybe matching Joshua with Usyk again a third time, I mean, even though it's, you know,
look, the fight we really want is Tyson Fury, and it was our hope, and still is, that Fury can beat Usyk, become undisputed, AJ can beat Ngannou, and then we've got a mega fight. But AJ's training team, Ben Davison, they love the Alexander Usyk fight for AJ now. He's lost to him twice, so it's probably not quite as compelling as some people might think it is, but yeah, I mean, we still want to see AJ become world heavyweight champion. He wants to try and become undisputed champion, so whatever route he's got to take.
What do you think it is with AJ in that Wallin fight? I mean, I'm sure you talked about it plenty after the fight, but just like you found that edge, the right kind of mentality, everything.
Just confidence.
Yeah.
Like, he's the kind of guy that if he understands the game plan and he's confident in the game plan, he can execute it brilliantly. You know, you saw that in the Andy Ruiz 2 fight. You've seen that in a lot of his earlier fights, and I just feel like he lost a little bit of confidence in what he was doing as a fighter, and Ben had brought out that belief in him. He brought out the game plan in him. AJ was exactly locked in and dialed into what he had to do, and he did it perfectly. And he's a dangerous guy when he's got that belief, and that belief is back. He needs to take that forward into the Francis Ngannou fight, which is a tough fight to do, because it's just the uncertainty of Ngannou and the size of him. Do you know what I mean? But he's just got to have that same belief and he'll be fine.
You think he knocks Ngannou out?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I do. I think Ngannou is a immovable object. I think he's a giant of a man, but I still don't buy into the fact that you can just turn your hand to professional boxing and beat the #1 and #2 or 3 heavyweight in the world. But you have to give him huge props for the Tyson Fury performance.
Have you talked, to AJ at all? Because about him being like Lennox Lewis was once he got with Emmanuel, and Vlad once he got with Emmanuel, and now like him having that kind of thing with Ben Davison. Do you think that's what he's establishing with Ben Davison? And
yeah, I think people talk about AJ being less aggressive. It's just education. It's understanding the sport. Like, he used to go into fights and just want to get the fight over as soon as possible, because he wasn't even really sure if he could do the rounds. Do you know what I mean? So now, and he realised that when his offence was like that, as he found out against Andy Ruiz, it was also dangerous. So all he's done is become smarter. That's all. Same with Vlad. When Vlad got stopped by Corey Sanders and those guys, he just said, I need to improve. I need to improve my defence. I need to be harder to hit. And that's what he did. So really, AJ always wants to be entertaining. He always wants to knock people out, but he also wants to win. But if he can do that with that kind of aggressive element like he did against Wallin, fantastic.
Right.
Really quick, maybe a month or 2 ago you opened or partnered with the gym in LA and now have a home for your fighters there. I know Connor and a few others were getting prepared there for this card, and you do that. This card didn't have to be in Vegas, but you chose to bring it here. You're choosing to bring Richardson, Hitchens, and Edgar Berlanga to Vegas. Is there more investment from Matchroom Boxing to Las Vegas?
No, I think
and the West Coast?
Sometimes more investment from Las Vegas. It all depends on the deal that we receive for the site fee. Obviously this is in the Cosmo. You got Fontainebleau, where the Hitchens and Pacheco fight will be. It's the first ever sporting event at Fontainebleau. So that's great. Great facilities. Great sort of captive audience here as well. And also, the fighters love fighting in Vegas. It's a pretty big thing to headline in Vegas. And you look at Conor Benn with that opportunity, Richardson, Hitchens as well. It's massive for them. So we've already got our gym in Los Angeles. It's been a great asset to our UK guys that have come out here. And yeah, it's not a focus to do more in Vegas, but the deal's worked and always great to be here.
Just curious, why Los Angeles?
It was a proposal put forward to from Petersburg. I like the gym, I know the gym. You've got some good people down there. It's a great place, Santa Monica. It's a great place to send fighters. There's a lot of good sparring in the region. You've got Robert Garcia's gym, you've got Brick House, you've got many other gyms around the area, and that's something that the UK guys have found particularly, that the sparring is much better than it is in the UK.
Yeah. Just curious, reaction to maybe the PBC Prime card. Did you think that was a good launch? Because you came to America.
I think that it's a good night of boxing. I think it's a bit of a, I don't know if it means anything to you guys, botch job, where it's like, let's just throw a load of stuff together. The main event for me is a very weak pay-per-view main event. I don't mind saying it. I find Keith Thurman quite an interesting character. Like, he's sort of disappeared for 2 years, He's come back to the press conference. He's like, his chat, as we say, is interesting. The suit is interesting. He looks a little bit older than he did before, and I'm not really sure what he's doing in the game or how hungry he is. Do you know what I mean? Respect to him, great fighter. And I thought at the presser he was really entertaining. But I can't, like, Tim Tszyu's a really good fighter. He's great to watch, by the way. But he's not particularly well known yet to the US audience. This is a great slot for him. But I just feel like as a pay-per-view, historically, we know those kind of pay-per-views don't sell. And if it's a good card, it don't really matter, because you have to grab the attention with a big headline. Whether that's Tank against Ryan Garcia, whether that's Canelo against X. Like, they're the pay-per-views, Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney, not Keith Thurman against Tim Tszyu. That is not going to do good numbers on pay-per-view. As a night, I quite like it. Like, I think as a boxing fan, I'd buy it, but that's not going to give you the numbers. And it just feels like it's like, oh, we need a pay-per-view. Who have we got? Like, Keith Thurman against Tim Tszyu is probably a fight. I could say to you guys, give me 100 fights to be made, and you would not say Keith Thurman against Tim Tszyu, would you? Like, you just wouldn't. So, and I think, by the way, Tim Tszyu will stop Keith Thurman 100%.
What about the co-main? Oh, sorry.
What is the was it?
Rolly and Pitbull.
I mean, like, Pitbull who I think is a really entertaining fighter, a little bit limited at elite level. I think he will steamroll through Rolly and he will stop him. I mean, I saw Rolly at the press conference. The guy don't even really look like he really wants to be there, but he's obviously getting a few quid. Good luck to him. But, you know, as I say, it's not a compelling fight. Again, that's not a fight that's going to drive pay-per-view sales. Fundora against Bokchik, yeah? Listen, I think Fundora's great fun, especially when he got knocked out in his last fight. Not quite sure how he's fighting for a WBC world title, but he is. Not going to drive any pay-per-view sales. If you combine it all, and this is not being a hater, good night of boxing. Good night of boxing, but just not. You know that ain't going to do pay-per-view numbers. Pay-per-view's difficult. It ain't easy. So, yeah, as you found with Benavidez against Andre, really good night of boxing as well. But you've got to grab the attention of the casual audience with a big name.
Lastly, Eddie, you know, speaking of Benavidez, if you were still advising Canelo on where he's at right now, what do you think is the better route for him, Crawford or Benavidez?
I don't think Sal would ever have a problem with any fight. You know, my experience with him is he will fight anybody. He's also a businessman at the same time. And really, Crawford is a bit of a, you know, isn't it? Crawford's such a great fighter. It's definitely a fight people are going to be intrigued with. But, you know, I think the Munguia fight is a great fight. I really do. Like, and I think the Benavidez fight is also a great fight. And also, I want my man Edgar Berlanga to do a really good job on February 24th and just scream and shout and call that fight as well. Because then all of a sudden, if you're Canelo Alvarez, you have options. You have Munguia, you have Berlanga, you have Benavidez, you have Crawford. So you've got another 2 years secure in the schedule. I just don't like the Charlo fight. It doesn't do numbers. Like the fight against the other brother was a non-event, really. Like, and Charlo's been out for 2 years. Benavidez Canelo is a huge fight. So's Munguia Canelo. That's a real fun fight. You've got a young, fresh Mexican that will do everything to win against a pound-for-pound great Mexican, probably the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. So,
did you make Berlanga and Munguia?
Of course, that's an incredible fight as well. Edgar's got to make a statement on February 24th, but also at the same time, Puerto Rico against, you know, that fight sells out any venue on the West Coast, particularly down in San Diego, also sells out Madison Square Garden big room. That's a big fight, but both guys want Canelo. Do you know what I mean? So it will take them not getting Canelo and just saying, you know what, let's fight each other, and then the winner will get Canelo.
And you see that the Saudi Arabia's fight, Fury-Usyk is being postponed. Do you think all the momentum may shift towards finalizing this deal for better even be both?
Yeah, I think knowing His Excellency, this will rile him up, and he'll say, right, we want to double down, right? I mean, maybe they find another fight for February 17th, or maybe they say, this is the new date, get Bivol Beterbiev done, get the Matchroom Queensbury card done, push on for Joshua against Ngannou. That's the kind of mentality they have. You know, they're not going to sulk and say, oh, we're not going to do boxing anymore. Like, I think this will make them even want to be more hungry for it. So It's a big blow, and it will be their first experience of disappointment in the sport, of which we've all had for many years. But unfortunately, it's boxing.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks,
YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content, or right here on our YouTube members.